just after America's longest war ended earlier today, Secretary of State Antony Blinken made a televised speech tonight. Blinken told Americans the Biden administration hopes the Taliban will run a nation with an inclusive government that respects the will of the people. Seriously. At the same time, fresh from the Hamptons, Tony Blinken was speaking. The Taliban was marching through their country, executing innocent people who worked with the United States for the past 20 years against them. In an interview with Zinger News, a Taliban commander confirmed there's a unit called Al-Isha that's hunting down any of the couple hundred Americans, maybe more, left, and more than 80,000 Afghan allies left behind in the country. It's happening as we speak. Even more disgusting, they're using American biometric data given to them by our utterly incompetent government to find them. That's the information our feckless leaders handed them, thinking it would only be used at the outer perimeter so the Taliban would know who to let into the Kabul airport. No, it was an actual kill list provided by your government. Former 60 Minutes correspondent Laura Logan obtained this video from a senior U.S. official and posted it on Twitter. Take a look. That is the sound, allegedly, of Taliban gunfire inside of a home somewhere in Afghanistan. There are still a couple hundred Americans inside of that country right now, at least a couple hundred, could be a lot more. We don't pretend that they know. The Taliban have also been holding an American hostage for months as well, somebody we couldn't somehow negotiate to get back. Think about that. Don't hold your breath on any of this. And then there's also this, an Afghan TV anchor from a station ironically called Peace Studio, interviewing Taliban members while surrounded by idiots with guns. Look at that picture. It's like a bad SNL skit. Don't be afraid or we'll kill you. And adding insult to injury, the New York Post reports a senior al-Qaeda commander who was Osama bin Laden's security chief has apparently returned to Afghanistan after 2 decades living in Pakistan. He rolls up in a caravan of Escalades. Look at this. You can't make it up. That's a top al-Qaeda guy moving right back into Afghanistan, literally as we are walking out the door. And he's getting selfies taken with him with the people around. The Taliban, ISIS-K, the Haqqani network, and now al-Qaeda getting very comfortable in their new home. They have an entire nation to work out of now, and loads of American money and military equipment all there to use. And don't forget, we send billions of dollars in aid to Pakistan every year. This country does. Did you know that? We send billions to Pakistan. And you know what Pakistan likes to do with its money. You know where this all came from, how this all got funded in the first place. It's beginning to look a lot like anybody left behind in Afghanistan has been left for dead. We've debated at length over whether leaving this country entirely was the right move. Last week, Trump's negotiator, General Kellogg, told us the prior administration's plan was dramatically different than the one we're seeing now. This is a complete and total evacuation. We have absolutely no presence in this country at all. And that is a gift to the Taliban that it seems they didn't even expect. Today, the Pentagon was asked if leaving 80,000 Afghan allies and hundreds of Americans behind is considered a success.
Does the Pentagon see that as a success, leaving 80,000 people, SIVs, who worked alongside our troops behind?
Carla, I can't verify that number, the math you just gave me, and I can't tell you what the breakdown is right now between the more than 12,000, maybe more, Afghans that we were able to evacuate in the course of less than a couple of weeks. I can't give you the breakdown right now. I honestly can't.
Another bureaucrat trying to spin this as some kind of a success story. It's honestly shameful to watch at this point. Here's a question, though. How will we respond if these people that are left behind are systematically slaughtered over the next few months? What are we going to do about that? What if we start hearing that tens of thousands of people are being killed? Systematically, anybody they can find just being murdered by the Taliban. What are we going to do about that? It's very likely to happen. A complete and total disaster this is. And while so much of this was going to be bad no matter who was in charge, that's a fair statement. No matter who was in charge, there was going to be a lot of pain with this. So much of this still was completely avoidable. Thankfully, the final day did not come with any new attacks. We were all worried about that. Attacks on our troops, attacks on innocent people at the airport. But we do know there were attempts. According to The Guardian, the U.S. did intercept as many as 5 rockets targeting the airport in the final hours of the evacuation. And then you have this horrifying story, a drone strike carried out on a vehicle full of suicide bombers and their explosives which posed a threat to the airport, according to the Pentagon. It was the right move to make, but at the wrong time to make it. The Washington Post reports 10 civilians killed by the strike, including several small children. Certainly a better outcome than these terrorists completing their mission, but also another black eye for our country with a lot of dead kids. And more proof that this entire pullout could have gone much differently this weekend. There were also reports the Taliban was ready to give us much more control of this operation. The Washington Post says General McKenzie met with a Taliban leader who told him, "We have two options to deal with it. You, the United States military, takes responsibility for securing Kabul, or you have to allow us to do it." Now, we don't know what the better option is there. Obviously, securing Kabul would have meant a huge rush of troops have to go back in, probably not a good thing. That's not the point. The point is this. For the past couple of weeks, we've been curiously on the Taliban's watch. We've been under their thumb. We've been in their control. We've been complying with their demands, and it's been pathetic to watch. What that story tells you is that we did not need to be any of those things. The Taliban feared us. The Taliban was willing to capitulate to us because they know we can kick their butt all over that country if we want to. But our leaders are so weak, they're in such denial about the strength of the nation that they lead, and also so incompetent that they created, for no reason, a complete and total United States embarrassment. One Marine lieutenant colonel took a major risk to his career and spoke out. Take a listen to this.
People are upset because their senior leaders let them down, and none of them are raising their hands and accepting accountability or saying, we messed this up. From my position, potentially all those people did die in vain if we don't have senior leaders that own up and raise their hand and say, we did not do this well in the end. I have been fighting for 17 years. I am willing to throw it all away to say to my senior leaders, I demand accountability.
Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller there, relieved of duty for saying what everybody else is thinking. None of our truly incompetent military leaders will be punished, though. Rest assured of that. Milley, Blinken, McKenzie, they're not going anywhere. And in the meantime, today, your president decided to look busy doing something else entirely. Hurricane Ida slammed Louisiana on Sunday. You probably saw a little bit of that. The White House probably hoping for another Katrina to be the perfect distraction. They didn't get it. There's certainly been damage. There's a lot of power outages, and there's been one death. But this morning, Biden still hosted a FEMA press conference as if he were the governor of Louisiana. He was knee-deep in this situation. A president in the midst of a political hurricane attempting to use a real hurricane to distract you is what that is. The bodies of the 13 slain service members arrived back at Dover Air Base yesterday. People still rightfully incensed by this needless loss of very young life, and a terrible story it is. And Biden, who often tries to portray himself as the compassionate man full of empathy, that's how he got the job, right? He managed to also bungle his outreach to the families. The pregnant wife of Lance Corporal Riley McCullum told the Washington Post she left disappointed after meeting the President of the United States. How sad is that? The meeting struck the family as scripted and shallow. They say it lasted only a few minutes. Biden talked about his late son, Beau, who died of brain cancer. When this debacle began, the president clearly stated if any Americans were still in Afghanistan on August 31st, that we'd be staying too. That statement is now officially a lie.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.